Thanks for coming to Tea Tales. We want to start by acknowledging that this program is taking place in the unceded territory of Lil'wat Nation. This is the fourth presentation this season out of 7, and our theme is local art, past and present. So, what is art? Art is defined as the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, and includes the various branches of creative activities such as painting, music, literature, or dance. Why is art important? Art reflects and informs the culture from which it comes from. It reflects a time and a place and the values and beliefs of that place, and it can be considered a mirror that is held up to inspire reflection on what is and what was. Art can communicate thoughts and ideas across generations. In the past, local art wasn't the exception, it was the rule. Communicating and growing beyond local borders was largely impossible. Today we can communicate with nearly anyone at any time. However, it's local art that gives a community meaning and a sense of place, so it remains an important aspect of any community. Art has the ability to share common values and beliefs between different groups of people. This type of communication is important for society. Creativity is a beautiful experience that brings people and communities together, regardless of race, gender, age, or religion. Integrating the arts more fully into our lives enriches each of us because engaging in the arts brings individuals together and it fosters community. Next week on August 6th, we'll have Levi Nelson here who's going to talk about his need to create and how it inspires his art. After that, we're going to have the poet Linda K. Thompson, who's here on August 13th, and she'll be sharing some poems that were inspired by her childhood up in the Pemberton Meadows. And the final presentation will feature 3 historic artists from the area, Marjorie Gims, Pat Wilson, and Reenie Ronan. Today's program features Johnny Jones, who will be telling us about the oldest art form in the region, rock paintings. These paintings communicate messages to travelers through Lil'wat Territory yesterday and today. Johnny is an archaeological cultural technician with the Lands and Resources Department, and he spent his life walking and studying Lil'wat Traditional Territory. His traditional name means weather changer, and he spent his life promoting traditional knowledge and the stories about the land that sustain Lil'wat Nation. The land and the people are one. Johnny's the acknowledged expert on Lil'wat rock paintings, culturally modified trees, and house pits, and he's contributed greatly to our understanding of Lil'wat traditional culture. Johnny's main focus is documenting cultural sites and protecting them from destruction. He ensures Lil'wat Nation is consulted and title and rights are addressed before any work moves forward on traditional territories. He often travels to conferences and gatherings to share his knowledge. He works with archaeologists, ethnographers, and high school and university students to share his knowledge and to broaden our understanding of Lil'wat territory. We're honored that Johnny could join us today to share his stories. Thank you.
Weather changer, and my English name is Johnny Jones, and I'll do my best to explain what I know, and I hope you enjoy. On this photo here is when I had short hair. That's when, in honor of our parents, we cut our hair. And so the time my dad died, I did that. And as you can see above my head there, there's a moose under the earth line. And the reason why it was called the moose, because you could see the ribs, and that means that it's a big animal. And to my right are 3 goats on a trail. So these goats in this area, I found some wooden carved sticks there. And so some hunter was there doing a sweat lodge. He was, training, washing himself before he goes out hunting. So that's what the picture is about. And A lot of our pictographs are all in Nukumik. That's our language. You got to know our language to understand them. And Akha is a spiritually powerful, supreme being. And I'm just going to say a few Nukumik phrases here. And Khunaam is a medicine man. And Shnaam is the spiritual power. And Tweet is a specially trained hunter. He's like the hunter that was training here and left his mark there, and he was cleansing himself. Palza is a sweat lodge. That's what our people, build our dome in the ground and put hot rocks in there, and we cure ourselves and brush ourselves with cedar boughs and anything that from the earth we even use red osher dogwood mixed with other sticks we boil in the fire while we're in the sweat lodge, and when we get out we wash ourselves with that to make ourselves like pure, like smell like the earth. And another one is heat, is a very powerful spirit. The heat, we have a pictograph of that up in Lil'wat Lake at Yuri Creek. It's one of the areas that I was protecting back in the 90s. And the Ukulik is a person, people, and Kamik is the earth and the land. And those two go together, and one can't live without the other. And a lot of our pictographs are done on like physical features on the land and the sky. So when you see like in the sky, you see the stars, the moon, and everything. That's all done in our language. And I was like gathering a lot of information, in my own time. And each symbol represents a word. To unlock the meaning of a language, one needs to know what each character represents. There are many thousands of characters to learn. There is a saying, a picture is 1,000 words. And this is true because the earliest form of writing was rock art. Back then, we did not have paper. And for our people to leave messages, we had to put them on a rock or any surface. Each person looked at the same picture. If you all looked at one pictograph and you looked at it, and you probably have a different interpretation on it or different saying about it. A lot of people say it's my calling to do what I'm doing. It's what I think is it's because I love going out in the land. I enjoy it out there, and like when I was a kid, I always left school. I'd take off into the mountains, not come back till it got dark. I'd be wandering around, and I kind of enjoyed that. And it was like I'm one of the stewards of the land. Like in the old days, our people had stewards of the land that protected each valley through the territory. My grandfather, Cupman, August Hunter from Shkakin, he was the last powerful medicine man around, and I was fortunate to do a few ceremonies with him. At the time, he still had his buckskin bundle of paint that he always carried and used. And not only him, there was a few other elders that also had bundles of paint with them. As time went on, I kept talking to them and getting information how to make the paint. So I got to learn to make the paint, and I got to, watch some of our elders put their paint away, their pipes away. At this time, when I was a child, when the elders were starting to put their paint and pipes away, there was a time our culture was banned by the government. Anybody practiced, if you heard of anybody practicing, they'll send the RCMP to arrest them, put them in jail, because they weren't allowed to do any cultural activities. So some of the people, you know, they had their pipes and that. When I was a kid, I used to go see them at Luckmich, cross the bridge, go see the old people there and talk to them. And they'd pull out the pipe and they said, we cannot keep it out too long. You know, if the government hears about this, they'll be thrown in jail, so they keep it out a little, then they put it away again. So I got to, you know, just go through this phase with the elders. So I'm just kind of giving you just a little history on stuff with another medicine man trained in Green Lake, and his name was John Sky. And John Sky had 3 powers from that area. One was a shooting star that came down into Green Lake. He took that shooting star and he put it in his medicine bag. He kept that as his power. And another one was the American veteran. It's a sort of like a crane, American veteran. And the other one was the thunder lightning from Black Tusk. So he trained all in this area to gather these powers there, you know, on this end of Green Lake. That's where he had all these sweat lodge, and you had to have 4 rows of cedar boughs, you know, about 4 feet high, and you know, like, you know, the 4 rows anyways, and you had to train there until they got all those 4 feet by 8 feet long rows of boughs, and they moved to another place to train. So that's how things were. And he marked his story there at Green Lake, and there's a few pictographs there left there, and you can see his power marks there. And the American beacon, you know, it's just like a track of a beacon there he left there, and you know, I could read these things, and my dad knew him, so I got to, you know, get a lot of stories of John Sky. And his name was Klaksha, that means barbecue fish. That was his Indian name. Myself, when I first saw rock paintings like an IR-10 just above the train tracks there and the cliffs, we used to, when we were a bunch of kids, we used to play around there, and when I saw all these paintings, so I started sketching paintings, and so I have this little document here with all my sketches from 1989. And that was before I got a camera. Now I have a camera, so I took a lot of pictures. So there are some certain areas, like, well, I'll go back, step back there. So far we recorded 38 rock painting sites, and there's probably like in one panel like here, there'd be like over 300 paintings in one site. Plus, you know, some of them go into right into the thousands, because there are so many of them. I've saw so many of them that, you know, I was blown away from there's this one lady who told me that there's a little slope in the rock going to the lake, and there's a straight cliff there. Even right on the slope, there's a lot of paintings. I was walking on them just to see a few of them. You'll see in the slideshow pretty soon. They're ready for the next one. So these are some of the paints that I have, and the conchs that I have that I make paint out of. That's how I was taught by my elders. So there's red earth, and there's iron oxide deposits known as red ochre. That's all the ones in the bottom there. And the pigments were cleaned with water and formed into small circles, like balls like that. And then they'd be flattened into cakes. You know, they flatten them there into cakes, and they'd put them in the fire there and, you know, bake them. Then when they're baked, you take them out. Then they start to grind them. That's why we have stone hammers. They grind them into powder. So that's how they made the paint for the ochre. And the fungus up there is from the fir tree and the hemlock tree. My dad, you know, he made sure I knew that, and he also, people, he said that they put that in a fire too, and they burn all the outside off, and then they'll clean it off, and then they'll crush it up and make it into paint. And all our paints are mixed with grease, any type of grease, bear grease, any kind of grease we can get. And if you have body paint, they mix it with water. And so that's how the paint was used and made. And a lot of the locations they're found on hillsides, cliffs, caves, big boulders, along creeks and rivers and lakes. It was said the oldest rock paintings are said to have been made by the people of the mythology age. Some were done like 129 years ago, about 1890. Others were known to be painted by young boys and young girls during their puberty trainings. We had ceremonies for those. Or dream records of painted by men that were in their training to be a hunter or doctor. So this here is the moose. You can see the ribs inside, so that's a rib cage. Gives you an idea. It's a big animal in the earth line. And here's another one on the three goats. There's the baby on the way in the back there. It's going on the goat trail there, up the cliff there. And this one's a frog. You can see the 3 fingers and 4 there and the head up. So someone from the Frog clan came through here and left that there. And this one here is the mountain shape there. You can see those lines there. And that's what we call like the eyebrow of the mountain in our language. And you can see it with the marks below it there, and then the trail goes over. And then at the point there, there's a berry there with a couple of leaves on it. There's all under the moss there. And I take out some of our school students, and right behind, I don't have a ruler, right behind this person you can see the 3 goats there, and behind that person is where the moose is. So you can see how steep the cliff that the people go at, just to put it with paintings. But there is some more paintings down in the lower bluff there, and then the Birkenhead River is just below there. Now, if one of these kids slipped off, they'll just land right in the water. Yeah, so you have to be good on your feet when you're doing those kind of stuff. And this here is, in the background you can see that lake there, that's Eddie's Lake. And right on top the hill there's a circle of rocks there, and it's where some of our people would be training. They'd be, fasting, or they'd be just sitting there all like for 4 days there and watching what comes to them. I don't know what year, I think it was back in 1973 when I found this up there. There was a forest fire up there the one year, and we went up there, and there it was.
Johnny, what is the lake down there that you mentioned?
Eddie's Lake. Eddie's Lake. Yeah. And from that circle is right up on top. There's a certain way to get down to this overhang here. And if you don't follow the right trail, you just get caught in the bluff there. So when I was down below, I saw that overhang, so I had to go and have a look and see what was up in there. So now, in 2007, I took Dave Hall. He's our consultant archaeologist, and there's Tammy Jenkins and Vanessa Dan, a couple of the trainees I take out there, and we took them up to this overhang, and there's tons of pictographs there and the wall there. Some are falling off the wall there. So you can see these ones are all like coming down, breaking. And some of them are like the big rocks are laying down on the face, and I'd stand them up, and then there'll be pictographs under them. And you can see in that one boulder, there's so many of them. And this where some of our medicine were training up there, and they've left all this there. And So I was kind of excited when I saw this. So I got some of these on my sketches back in '89. So you can see the deer and you can see the broken part there, you know, just like shattering as they fall down, and I was able to get some photos of them. So this is like a recorded site now. And this one here is a couple of deer, like right under the hillsides there, and they're feeding there, and that's a good hunting ground in those two hills up the new site there. You know, there's two hills there, and you always see deer there. And this one here, I was talking to my dad about this. Everybody thinks it's the Roman numeral 1 or something like that. You know, my dad told me that this represents a moon, like the moon in the sky. Yeah. I don't know how I was managed to get up to this one here, but I had cork boots on the rock there, so it's like kind of, I don't know. Made it anyways, but it's really, you know, we're in a steep area. And I brought Dave Hall to this area. He wouldn't even climb up there. He was, you know, crawling in the ground. And he said, "I'm not going any further." And I took Burt Williams and his class there at the same place, and they all made it up there. So I told them to sit down. I'll get a photo of them. So that's awesome to get some kids out there to see these sites and. No. So this is what is there at that site where the Burton were. So these represent the universe, the sky. You know, you can see in the bottom part is a window, and there's the twins there, the grizzly bear twins. Certain time early in the morning, you could see them on the east, just above the Joffrey, and you know, just as the light and night change there, they're right there. And there on top when there's the moon there on the right, and there's the person standing on the top there, and like that. So he's probably marked that circle there where the circle rocks are where he was standing. So this one here is a hummingbird, and James Tate recorded this from our elves in 1906, and he described this as a thunderbird as being like a ruby-throated hummingbird. On its head is a large, long crest like a blue jay, and then, but standing far backwards, its body was blue and its throat was red. It raises its feathers up and down and like a ruffle grouse or a turkey. And when it turns its head side to side, lightning, so darts will come out from its eyes, which is lightning there. And the light, when this lights on the earth, the gale begins to blow the wind. The Indians, like they claim that you've seen this in the mountains near Pemberton during the heavy winds some years ago. The hummingbird is a friend of the thunder. Some of the lower lodes say that the thunder is a man. It is said that he was seen in the lower Lode River that's at this area. Some years ago during a heavy thunderstorm, each time a lightning flash came, he could be seen standing there on one leg. His head and hair were red, and he stood off a staff for one side of his head. So that was James Tate talking about this hummingbird there. And my father told me that at the same place there was a medicine man training there. And he had 4 witnesses when you go do some training and something when this medicine man wasn't feeling very good. He was feeling sick, so he had 4 witnesses with him, took with him, and when he went there at this place here by the bridge there, going up the new site, my dad said that he used his hand like that, and he just kind of opened his stomach like that, and he put it in the water and he washed it. And when he washed it, then he put it back, and he just went like that, and it was all sealed up again. There's no sign of any cuts or fingernail marks. He just healed himself right up again. So that was the other story that my dad told me of that area. In 1909, I worked with Dr. Brian Gordon, researcher from the Canadian Museum of Civilization in Ottawa. He came over here to do a dig right underneath the hummingbird. We dug down like every 10 centimeters down where we had collecting ochre that drops from the painting there to the ground. So we did that, and the radiocarbon bed came back 129 years ago, and so that was like in 1890 when this was made in the rock there. That was our first rock painting radiocarbon date. And that all falls into like when the medicine men were still active then. So a lot of the paintings were used on like ceremonials, festivals, and on wooden spoons, dishes, house pit posts, ladders, bows and arrows, and buckskin, making on fishing poles, and sometimes when they have an Indian battle, they'll mark the battle too on the rock there. Yeah, this is the one I just read to you on James Tate. I got ahead of myself here. So that was 1906 when James Tate wrote that down from our elders on hummingbird. So this one here was, I was up the news site on July 30th, 1989. I was up there visiting a friend there, and all of a sudden the roof was, how a really loud screeching noise on the metal? That's how it was. So I got curious and I got up and I went outside and take a look, and the sky was dark, and all of a sudden this hummingbird, like a thunderbird, came by, and it came by along the mountains, and on the chest there's a yellow lights, two of them. They're going like that, on and off, like our RCMP lights when they go on and off. That's how it was going. And it was traveling really fast, and I thought, oh, something's happening, and it went around the mountain towards the Parkway, and I said, oh, I wonder I should call Ernie, my buddy up there, tell him there's something going to happen up there. And I said, no, better not disturb him. And the next day I find out there's a young man up there, he hung himself. He got rejected from going into the army, so he couldn't handle it. So he's been training to go into the army, and he just couldn't handle it, so he hung himself. So that's what happened, what came out of that when I saw that. So this is the Clume. We call it the Clume because it's a lookout point on Lil'wat Lake there, and there's tons of pictographs there, and you can see that there's like those are thunderbirds in different styles there, and you can see the window there to the right there. And this one here, when the elders are trying to, make sure that things are passed on, they put markings down, like, right there on the left there is this the sweat lodge here. There's you can see the form there. And further over is the 4 directions from it. While I was looking around, I was into, because I know my family clan is the grizzly bear clan, and and the wolf clan from my grandfather's side there. I was 15. And there's a wolf in the bottom there, and there's the swan and rainbow trout. And I missed some of them, like up there's a blue jay again, and so I kind of missed some of them. There's an owl there, so those are all some of the family clans markings there. Middle ones there, that's the Clume there, where's the lookout point there. And this one here is done because it was marked as our people had festivals battles, we'd have round dances. So people here are dancing in circles and other people are joining, coming in as they dance in a circle. So these are a lot of things that our old people are trying to make sure that we didn't forget these things, how we had potlatches and gathered around and danced, always had a good time. And this one here is Hunaam. He's from the Bear Clan, and he has lightning for his power, and he has a pipe with him. And above him, there's you can see some warriors there with shields. So above him, that's one of our battles that we had with the Thompson people that came down to do some raiding and killing here and stealing women, children, and food, caches and stuff like that. But our people caught up to them in the middle of the Stein Valley and slaughtered them all up there. So their bones are laying all over up in the Stein Valley there.
That was in the 1850s?
That was the 1850s was our last battle with the Thompsons, and the one later than that was 1830. So every time they came down and went back, our people always had a place to kill them. And like in Twin One, there's an area there from the Clune there where the pictographs are. They had a lookout there, and they had people, other warriors on the top parts. They had big boulders all on the hillside at the top there, and they'd get signaled when the enemy was right down below them, and then they'd roll the rocks down them and just kill the Thompsons there. So we had a battle down there. And the last big battle was at Driftwood Bay there, at Lizzie Bay area. Driftwood Bay, we have a big village site there, and so that's where the last battle took place. And there's what I was talking about. And there's tons of pictographs all in here under the moss, and here you can see them even like right under the green lichen there. There's 3 different type of lichens here, and the only way we can probably carbon date some of those is carbon date the lichen and get some of the paint from the dropped off from the face of the wall there.
How old do they think that is then?
These ones, I don't know. We haven't done any study on them. Yeah, we don't even usually don't want to give any idea where they are. And we like to try to keep them intact the way they are, because a lot of them nowadays people graffiti areas, they spray paint, and they do a lot of stuff that shouldn't be done around them. And this one here is going towards Gates Lake. I just passed the Ulleridge, but on the west side of the river. I drew all this there back in '89, and I asked my dad to translate some of these because I didn't, at the time I didn't know too much about them, and so he's kind of told me, so I kind of just wrote them down there, as you could see. There's a person walking in the full moon, there's a deer in the full moon, and there's crossing areas, and there's hunting ground areas, and there's days people travel through there, and some of the deer and fish areas, good fishing areas around there. And that's around IR4, it's a reserve area, so it's in reserve. And this is the kind of the story I was telling you of Green Lake with John Sky, and James Tate interviewed our elders back then in 1906. So I just kind of started doodling, drawing around, just add that to it. And nowadays, a lot of people are starting to use all my drawings, like the Lil'wat gas station had some of my drawings there, and now finally getting to use some of our pictographs and gave them my hat here for our field work. And this one's an overview of Whistler area right to Rubble Creek. We had 2 village sites there, one at Green Lake, I below Fitzsimmons there, and one at Rubble Creek there. And I do have the stories in the lake of this, you know, the copper and the falling star there, and where the pictographs are, and the river of Golden Dreams was said to be put there for the heat to swim back and forth from the lakes there. And Blackcomb was called Chapton. Chapton is Blackcomb, and Whistler Mountain is Snuquecho. And that's the Whistler. And you can see a black tusk way over with the Thunderbird on top there, and all the moons there. And our elders talked about the heat there going up there too. And we saw a two-headed snake there, one of our elders reported. And at the Squamish Lil'wat Cultural Center, they're also using my drawings, so they wanted me to translate some of them, so I did, and that's what I did on Whistler and Blackcomb and Green Lake. And the village site is there too. And this one's at the Squamish Lil'wat Cultural Center too. It's a person walking in the full moon. And in the Squamish Lil'wat Cultural Center, along the stairways going up to the second floor, they asked me to do some more drawings there for them, so I did a few drawings there for them, so they, you know, I think they, I even did some outside too, in the big boulders for them. And there's the other ones, zoom out on them here. So this one here is, you know where Meager is, Meager Mountain, big slide, you know. So we had two of our people who went up there training, and these were, we call them the Salmon Brothers. The Salmon Brothers, that's why the salmon is beside them. We went up there to train by Salal Creek there. You call it, back then they called it Cypress Creek. So they trained there for a long time up in the went from there to the glacier, and you know they controlled the area, and they even were able to transfer some, you know, some twigs of a certain branch. They turned it, and you just transferred, just by throwing it into the water, it turned into fish. And this is just the word in our language. Chapton is either fish spear or war spear, and I just put some hunters there because it was an important hunting ground in Whistler there. Some of our women will be snaring groundhogs while the men were hunting for bigger game up there, like goats and deer and all bear up there. And this is one of the drawings that the Lil'wat gas station is using now in my drawings. So I don't mind them using, you know, long as they, you know, I had to put the translations on there for them to understand it, but once I gave it to them, they cut it and moved things around, so it's kind of like, you know, okay. So it's like, yeah, you know, yeah, that happens, I guess, all the time. So this here is the Wolf clan at his camp at nighttime. He's smoking his pipe there. So that's used at the Lil'wat gas station too. And you can go back to that one, Nikki. The reason why I call it night, because that isn't the sun. My dad told me once it has two lines in it, it's called the moon. So that's the difference. It wouldn't have those marks if it was the sun. Yeah. So that's the Lil'wat gas station. It's going to be opening pretty soon. I just put a few shots in it. And this is these books came out like years after I was doing my drawings and talking to my dad. Then finally these came out, and I was kind of, you know, surprised. I was kind of happy to get a, you know, somebody else did this before me. Yeah, so it was awesome to find that and have it on PDF at my work office. Yeah, okay. That was John Connor. And this gives you an example, like when another tribe comes into our territory, there's a certain rock, you have to put your family clan or anything or that you represent in your tribe, you'll put it there. And so everybody marked it, and that way the people, the tribes that they're going into, they could feel it, they'll know you're coming. And because some of them are telepathic, they know it, that you're there, they watch you through their power. For example, when I was visiting my grandmother and Dr. Floka at Caroleo, I went to visit them when we were little kids there, and he'd send us down the water to Shachum there to go wash up early in the morning before the sun came up. Then we go back, we're doing that for a while, and then all of a sudden I told my younger brother, I'm not going to jump in this time, I'm just going to wash my face. Told him that, and he jumped in, we had to jump in 4 times. And then I just wanted to touch my face a little bit, and we all both went back up there, and he had the fireplace open. He was looking into the fire there. Didn't even look at me or anything, and as soon as the door opened, he says, you go back and jump in this time. Yeah, so he's watching me through the fire. That was one of his powers. Yeah, so this is just a little bit of information, and John Connor, he wrote up there, acknowledgements. And there's some of his drawings there, yeah. So those are, all the ones with the red dots they're all done by the Lil'wat in the Lil'wat area. So those are symbols, and the rest are from the Shuswap and Thompson and Chilcotin. And these ones have numbers, and then, it's kind of describing some of the figures. Okay, and those go with this next slide coming up, this one here. So they're all just numbered. Not all of them are marked out, but most of them are anyways. And this is when I talked to my dad about the symbol on the Stein Valley. I just kind of broke it down, drew it, and asked him, what does this mean? And he told me, yeah, that's the earth there. And he said, yeah, it's just holding 2 tribes together there. And he said they're holding the animal and the people together, and kind of described it there. So he kind of broke it down for me there. So that's what I wrote down back in '89. Yeah, and this is another nice book if you guys ever come across it, by Annie York and Chris Arnett. They did this book here in Lytton, and I had to go over there and do a talk at the conference. And at the conference, there's a lot of people. Okay. There's a lot of people there, and that's their conference calling out there, the Mechapmet. Okay. So there I am up in front there, and there's tons of people there. There's even these people that study those really awesome pictographs in Europe, those famous ones there in the caves. They were there, they all over the world. They came there that one time, and I had to talk in front of them. Yeah, you can see all the people there, and tons of people there. I had to stay there and talk there until I was, and get out of there quick as I could to come back home, because my daughter is graduating, so I had to be at 2 places at the time, Lytton and here in Pemberton. So I did my talk really fast, and they're happy, and then I came back. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you all for coming, and hope I didn't bore you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.